4 o'clock, so I'm going to open up this workshop again. We are back and open. So at this time, we just wanted to provide an update for our tribal citizens regarding how today's workshop went. So this is an extra workshop that was added just to go over the constitutional amendment type of stuff in the event that our citizens support this BIA secretarial election. What would the next steps be? But at this time, I want to turn things over to our general counsel who can provide some good details regarding that election and update on it, and then he can update the conversations from today.
Thank you, Chairman Lowe's. All right, I'll start with tentative election date. We're looking at around October 29th for tabulation night. The Secretarial Election Board has not finalized their timeline. Once they do, they'll post it, but we'll also help get it posted and distributed across our different tribal properties. But the tribal citizens should anticipate sometime that first full week of September that our packets will be mailed to us. So in those packets will be our current constitution, our proposed constitutional amendments, and a side-by-side comparison summary sheet, as well as voter registration cards. There will be a date certain that the citizens will have to return those cards to the P.O. box listed on there so the Secretarial Election Board can register you for the election. After that, at some point, probably the first full week of October, then we'll have the ballots mailed to those of us who registered for this election, and then the end of September will be the tabulation night, and somewhere in the middle of there will be the deadline that we have to return the ballots. It'll all be 100% mail-out ballots through USPS, just like we do for our tribal elections, except the federal government will be administering that. So those are the tentative timelines for what we're looking at for mailing out of everything / tabulation night.
Okay, and I have asked the administration just to come up with some questions that we'll need answer in the event that the BIA secretarial election does pass. In short, we have 18 months to fully implement the constitutional amendment, but there are some things that we're going to need to figure out for the next morning if this goes through. So at this point, do any board members have any closing remarks? I think Aaron does, but does anyone else? Okay, go ahead, Aaron.
All right, so today we learned that despite, I didn't hear two different numbers today either. That was asserted a little bit ago, but we heard one number that was the projection before we did a deep dive. Then we heard a different projection, that number was like 4 or 5 million or whatever. But then legal and the CFO did a deeper dive and found that the true number is about $2.2 million. And that's for a 3-branch. But what I would like to request is I'm going to use a term Cole uses, the delta, the difference between a 2-branch and a 3-branch, because I'm going to estimate that it's going to be less than $400,000 between a 2-branch and a 3-branch. And that number, by the way, is $405,000 is the number if the board cut our salaries in half. Our job is going to change significantly. We won't need to be meeting every week. We'll be a legislature, and we won't be micromanaging the operations of the tribe. So the savings by cutting our salaries in half, I'm not proposing that at this point, but I just don't want to hear the argument that we can't move forward because we can't afford it, because before we make that argument, we should be willing to put half of our salaries on the line up front. So I'd like to know the difference between a 3-branch cost and a 2-branch cost. I know that I could come up with a $2.2 million in savings in our operational budgets right now. When I became chairperson in '04, we used to have a luxury of $34 million in tribal support. And I had taken a sober look at our budget, and we had to cut $17 million out of the budget. We didn't affect services. We didn't affect jobs. We were able to manage the tribe at a $17 million. We're below that right now, partially because of the pandemic and our ability to come back out of the pandemic. And also, to be honest with you, the casino's desire to hold for CapEx. And I do think that's proper because we have neglected our facilities for a long, long time. But we can find the savings. So the sky's not falling. And before we hear that argument, we can find the savings so that we can operate going forward. Now, what we really need to be doing is driving new revenues. You know, we've been back and forth with the ACA since it was enacted in 2010. Kathy Abramson and I were on the national level pushing to have tribes benefit from that. One side of the aisle, I'll be careful how I say this, has been proposing to eliminate the ACA and all the benefits that we get. But we've survived that, and depending on how the politics go this fall and going forward, I'm confident that we're not going to lose our Affordable Care Act funds that we get as a tribe. Just to give you an idea of what that means is in 2004, we were collecting $1.5 million in third-party revenue. When I left office, we were collecting $20 million in third-party revenue, coming mostly from the ACA, insurances, the exchange, our tribal members that sign up. And today, our third-party revenue, so we've done a really good job since 2022, our third-party revenue is greater than our annual funding agreement on the money that we get from Indian Health Services. So what is our biggest bang for our buck, and where is our revenue opportunity? It's in healthcare. We make way more money in healthcare than we do in casinos. Right now, based on what we're drawing down from the casino, that's 15 years. Third-party revenue is 15 years of casino net revenue. So we have a property down in Sibley. We do want to sell it, but before we sell it, we need to have an honest look at what revenue could that drive. When I was out of office, the board hired Bluestone, and I think that was the right choice. The board gets beat up over it all the time, but the focus was retention, recruitment, and additional revenue opportunity with third-party revenue. And we need to focus on recruitment and retention because I do think we're at an all-time low in our health delivery system with not retaining doctors and not recruiting new doctors. Another opportunity is the VA healthcare. We entered an MOU when Bonnie Culfa was our health director, and there's an opportunity to drive revenue through serving our veterans. We have the highest proportion of veterans, so why not recruit them to come to our healthcare and get their revenue so that we can serve them. And then also any other third-party revenues like Sibley. The Sibley property would probably generate $50 million in third-party revenue. That could help close the gap. And whether it's Sibley or it's just we tighten our operation so we're maximizing our third-party revenue in the Upper Peninsula and other venues, we're not doing that right now. We spent, I don't know how much the board spent on Bluestone, it was a couple $1 million. Those implementation recommendations are not happening right now. If we need to hire somebody to do that, let's do that. Let's drive that revenue. Let's get recruitment and retention. And that is an opportunity. So I'm not sharing it only as a critique. I'm sharing it as an opportunity cost loss because that's money that could pad our budgets to make up the difference for the cost of implementation, and then also not to deplete our fund balance. So we can easily afford this change, and I wanted to share all that before we start hearing that we can't afford it, the sky's falling. Finally, is I'm not hearing from the board table. When I'm here or after when I'm not here, I wasn't here on last Monday because I was having surgery, but I'm not hearing a majority of the board of directors who are trying to go backwards. A couple of board members asked a couple of questions, but the majority of the board tried to redirect that we're past that. We voted unanimously to move forward on a three-party system, or three-branch system. And so I think in earnest, we are moving forward. I hope that we don't retread and start slipping backwards, but the vast majority of the board members are committed to moving forward. We voted unanimously. We had an election since then. I don't see any change coming from the three new board members to go backwards. So this is a positive thing that we're working on. I guess the final thing, and I'm sorry I said that already once, is when I was at Unity, I got messages back that that we were told that that we had to get everything done before we vote on the three branch, and that's not true. At our last workshop, legal explained what he said before, is that we have 18 months after enactment of a three-branch government to make whatever code changes we need to make therein. Now, there are some changes that will be immediate, and that is who the executive branch is and who reports to the executive branch. So what I would suggest is that rather spinning our wheels on a whole bunch of stuff that we may not need if it doesn't pass, let's focus on what we need to do before the October 29th vote, the day before, 2 days before Halloween. Let's focus on what we need to focus on and not spin our wheels on a bunch of stuff that may not come to fruition. If we do vote on a 3-branch, we do have to enact those codes, but that's already built in the timeline. Legal counsel has repeatedly said we have 18 months after it passes to put those in place. So let's not spin our wheels on doing a bunch of stuff ahead of time that we don't need to do. That's it.
All right, Lana, and that's the last hand I have, and then Lana needs some direction from us on a couple different issues, so go ahead, Lana.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm glad, Director Paymont, you recognize that people aren't backtracking. The same people that ask questions have been vocal about where they stand on their position, and that's okay. Like you said, the majority of the board has said we're moving forward with the 3-branch, and that's what we're getting to. Unfortunately, getting to that is gonna take hard questions to be asked, because this is not just an amendment that we breeze through. This is a whole change of our government and how it's operated, and we're gonna have hiccups. And I beg your pardon when there was 2 different amounts stated. Last Monday, we were told 3.4 to over 5 million. Today, we were told 2.2 million. So we're getting to that. This is all fluid. We're getting to that. So to be fair, we were told 2 different amounts, not by the same person. Today by Holly, we were told 2.2, and you've already stated that. So that's what we can look at. And I do agree that we can find cost savings places, but that's also going to come with some hard decision making. Even Sibley property, you had mentioned that today, a $50 million revenue source to sell for whatever it's appraised at. And I don't know if I can say that, but I'm just repeating a couple of things that you cited. So we are going to have issues and decisions that we have to ask to get through this process. Again, a majority of the board said we're getting to that, but I'm not going to be afraid to ask questions when I don't understand them, or say things when I don't understand them. I summed it up in closed session today, my thoughts and my opinion. And in the past, if we don't do it right, in the past, I have sat in a room and cut $5 million out, and I believe it was 2008, because we didn't have any money in our coffer. Paychecks were bouncing. So the real numbers, the real plans, and what we have to do to implement it tightly so that there'll be hiccups, sure. But these meetings that we're having, there is going to be tough questions that people have to ask to get places where we need to be to make this as painless as possible for our executive staff, and then the services down to the members. So I wanted to just state that, and I know I didn't dream up those numbers. I already confirmed with another board member that we were told last Monday 3.8 to over 5 million. Today we were told 2.2 million. So if it's 2.2 million, I'm sure we can find those numbers too. But this is fluid. This is fluid on how we're going about things. So I'm not going to be afraid to ask the questions that need to be answered, whether they ruffle feathers or not. So anyway, onward to the 3-branch. Thank you.
Rob?
I'd just like to make some clarifications there. So when the 2 mentioned in the last meeting about opposition to the 3-branch in support of the 2-branch, my issue wasn't that there was opposition to it. In fact, I always welcome debate. Everyone knows that. My issue is that meeting was not noticed to our membership properly. Our members have a constitutional right established in Constitution within the bylaws, Article 1 and Chapter 96, that anytime government operations are discussed by the Board of Directors with a quorum, that they are to be notified. That is their absolute constitutional right. So when that was framed as a working meeting of executives to come up with a transition plan, I was okay with that. When that conversation turned into a board discussion about legislation and operations, that's when I had an issue, because that is a violation of our code and constitution, and it is a violation of the bylaws, Article 1, that guarantees those rights to our membership. So this board can bank on that every single time that I feel like our membership's rights are violated. And the membership can also count on 100% of the time that I feel that, I will be extremely vocal to our membership about it, so they are fully aware of what their government is doing. So I will never regret that decision to post that, and I will do it every single time. I don't, and I know there's going to be hard questions. I want there to be hard questions, and I want our membership to hear those hard questions. So I'm going to be clear about that. That wasn't any way to negate debate. In fact, it was to put the debate in the public eye where it actually belongs.
Okay, so I have another speaking list. Aaron, then Lana, then I asked that we get some direction from Lana so we can get out of here. So go ahead, Aaron.
Hey, I didn't raise my hand, but I was thinking about asking if you could, if we could streamline, if we could ask legal to streamline what we have to review before the amendment.
But that's what I'm asking. That's
Okay.
what I'm asking. There's no sense going through this whole thing when you have 18 months, when we just spent from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock talking about not a whole lot. I mean, we went through the finances, then we went around in a big giant circle. So Ryan, just figure out what needs to be answered the day after the secretary election ballots are counted up, because all that other stuff, we have time to figure it out, and we know we're gonna need time to sort it out.
Yeah, we'll work on that. I already kind of put that in the PowerPoint and memo that I sent to the board on what happens day one and what can happen in that runway, as I call it, of 18 months. But we'll figure out how to frame it up and make it more succinct and clear. And just since everyone's talking about it, it was me who said 3.8 to 4 million. That was my estimate. I told you I was not a financial mind. Your CFO is the financial mind. That was a very rough estimate. But I want to be clear, and I think Holly would concur, that 2.2 million is what she put together for minimum, like bare minimum. These are the needs that you have on day one. These are because they're based on new positions. So that 2.2 million, or whatever it was, 2.7 million, is for if you have to fund up those minimum newly created positions. But it does not go into great detail of all the other things that we don't anticipate yet of what the three-branch government might cost. And so I want to make sure the membership is aware of what we talked about this morning, why there was two different numbers. It was two different executives, one giving a ballpark, me, one giving the minimum startup cost on new positions, Holly. We don't have to beat around the bush. You can call me out in person. It's fine. So that's why you had two numbers. That's what we talked about this afternoon. But those numbers are going to fluctuate, as you said, Lana, as we get going and build this out. There's going to be costs we didn't anticipate. Things are going to be savings that we didn't anticipate, and it's all going to have to be fluid. We're going to have to be flexible and easygoing, as I tell my 6-year-old, because there's going to be growing pains, and we're not going to know all the answers even after those 18 months. Things are always going to be fluctuating.
Lana, then Tyler.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Ryan, and I appreciate you recognizing, and it's just not my style to call out. And I understand that you're not a financial guy, you're a legal guy, and you did say those were rough estimates. And I tend to agree that it's going to be a little bit higher than that. So with the comments that we have made today, and the comments that I made at the end, and I guess agreeing with the chair, what he just said, we didn't get a whole lot done this afternoon, because we went all around a whole bunch of other things. Uh, a financial forecast on day one, which is the $2.2 million, and then a financial forecast throughout the planning stages of it, maybe to put together with the financial executives and legal when based on the code changes that we're going to have to make. Yeah. And that wasn't to call anybody out, Ryan. So I'm not afraid to mention names. That's just not my style. So, I don't, and you did say, but now that you said it, you did say you're not a financial guy, because I tend to agree it's going to be about, after everything's said and done, 18 months, maybe I'll whip it out there like 6 million, and the forecast will help us get to that smoothly. So that's what I'd like to see, because one thing I don't want to see is that we go down this path and it said we weren't prepared. I want to be as prepared as possible. And with the caveat to state, there is no board members cooing to stop this process up. It's just not happening. We're trying to get there. The ones I speak to, we're trying to get there in a good way. So, and a lot of staff are doing the same. So that's it.
Tyler?
Yeah, I do think the budget discussion is important, as well as the tax discussion we had on the different entities to make sure that the government has an income, because the government does not have businesses itself, but we do have to balance our budget through taxation. Not taxing our own people, but taxing our businesses fairly. And that includes housing, that includes health, that includes Kuwait, and that includes EDC and potentially STI in the future. The one thing I look forward to that hopefully we can get sooner rather than later is resolutions and code changes, as well as key staffing changes that need to be made for day one, so that we have all of these resolutions debated out and workshopped, so we can go prior to the separation, or maybe the day after separation or whatever, through a special meeting, and have the government continue to function normally. Because that's what we were all most afraid of to begin with, because nobody knew what would happen. Like, yeah, there's a separation, but there's no codes in place for the separation other than Constitution, and the Constitution isn't self-implementing without resolutions, which are legislation to create law and code of the tribe. So looking forward to just deep diving into those and getting moved forward with those, as well as our tax code changes that are coming up pretty quickly, probably, in order to get this stuff moving through. So that's what I look forward to. We did have a discussion on the tax base, a very important discussion this morning, and hopefully we can start opening that up to the membership as well.
Lana?
All right, mine should be easy, yes or no. So last week at the meeting, you changed 2 October meeting dates. The 6th is now on the 13th, and the 20th is now on the 27th. I have, for October 6th, I've already got 7 board members confirmed and registered for the MMIP, so I'm assuming I'm canceling that day's workshop.
I would assume so,
Okay.
yes.
And then, so on the 13th, we're still in Escanaba. That'll be our first meeting over there in a long time. We are typically scheduled to have JKL fiduciary on the second Tuesday of every month. Do we want to cancel the October fiduciary, or do you want everybody to attend via Zoom?
I think fiscally, like, I don't think there's any.
When is the next meeting?
It would be, for October, it's October 13th, and that's the date we move to Escanaba.
Let's cancel it. If Dr. Dale needs something, we'll schedule something as an
Okay.
emergency. It won't be a big deal, but
And-
we'll be able to. We'll have that flexibility if we need to.
Okay, and then the final one is, we did move the October 20th to the 27th, that's in the Sioux. Normally, we would have Enterprise Authority that day, so I don't know how many people, I think that was for NCAI. I don't know how many board members, if we're gonna have a quorum on the 20th for a workshop, and an Enterprise Authority meeting, so I don't know if you want me to cancel that workshop also,
Where's NCAI at?
huh? October 20th. The meeting got changed to the 27th, but when we do that, I have to get better at, what about the workshop? The 6th was pretty clear, 7 of you are gonna be gone.
Who's going to NCAI? Put your hand up if you are.
Tyler, Aaron,
Okay, so we got 2 people. Is there anyone else going to NCAI?
Mike's not sure.
So if there's, I don't know, where's it at this year?
Is it in California or
So it's somewhere warm, so we'll probably have a lot of board members go, so. If,
Palm Springs? Okay.
well, there you go. So if the majority of the board goes there, just cancel it.
Okay, otherwise I'm gonna maintain the 20th workshop still. Okay, I'll get notices out for our members to make them aware, and I'll let the JKLFC know we're canceling.
Okay, sounds good. All right, workshop adjourned, guys. See you tomorrow.
The recording has stopped.